I think what's very interesting also over here is a Lotus Elan.
Ah, yes.
You remember the Elan?
Ah, yes. I fell in love with that car when Diana Rigg drove one on the Avengers.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Marvel Avengers. I'm talking
is-
about the British TV series from the late 1960s.
Is this yours?
Yeah.
This is the Miata before Miata, huh?
Yeah, way before me.
Way before Miata.
Yeah, it's a 66 Series 2.
Tell me about it.
It's there was Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, and a Sprint. And this would be the early Series 2, which was succeeded to Series 1. And
Obviously, Lotus known for its racing and its racing heritage.
Yes.
They start making these. What did this
62 to 72.
And how fast was this car? Was it fast? I mean, it's very light, very
Yeah,
small.
it's very light. Yeah, at stock they came in, at about 0 to 60 about 7 seconds at the time.
That's fast
And
back then.
Huh?
That's
yeah,
fast.
yeah, that was fast back then. Yeah.
How's it drive?
Weighs
Stock vet could do.
1,500
Ooh,
pounds.
that's nothing.
Yeah, it's all motor. I'll show you the motor. Twin Webers.
Twin Weber carburetors. Matt, you like this? Matt says
Well,
this is a
what
car.
does this car remind you of, folks?
Did you just push the?
Yes.
Did you just
What
push the
does
window
this car
down?
remind you of, folks? It starts with an M.
Miata. That's what I said.
Thank you very much, because
what happened? Okay.
the Miata,
There you go.
the design of the Miata is based heavily on this car.
What happened was these guys in Southern California took an Elan apart,
Yeah.
and tried to duplicate it, right? And they came up with a design for the Miata, and Mazda bought it from them. All right, and the hardest job they had was trying to get it to sound like an Elan.
Well, yeah, and they did work very hard on the Miata's exhaust. Now, this engine, okay,
Yeah.
the block is Ford.
It's a Ford block, Lotus head,
Yeah.
twin cam, and
1.6 liter, right?
1.6
It's the Kent
How does it
engine
handle?
with a twin
Oh,
cam head on.
it's like a little rat with sneakers.
Now,
I guess well then.
take a close
Yeah, I
look.
mean, you just turn, you just go,
Yeah.
you get right into it.
How long have you had it?
This one I got in the mid '80s, and it was painted and pretty much restored finished about 1990.
And you drive it regularly?
Yeah, well, I try to. I have a few others, so it's hard to keep up with.
Well, this car is entirely fiberglass, the body.
Yeah,
And
it's one shell.
it is built on a backbone frame, which Lotus used later on in other models.
Yeah,
But
well,
that's one thing-
it's basically like a racing
The
car.
one thing I don't want to do is mess up, because it looks like...
You're all right. You're all right. Just don't go any higher than that. You're all right about like that.
Grab that. Thank you.
I mean, like the engine color. This was the original color.
Yeah.
This was more or less the color, but this has got flake in it. This car was originally Robin's egg blue. These wheels are Carroll Shelby mini lights, actually. It came with them when I got the car. Originally, it had steel wheels with hubcaps, like in that picture there.
It's a great example of the Elan. How fast have you had it up to?
Over 100.
Over 100.
Oh yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah, it just books along, I mean, what's cool about it is, I mean, you can go from 30 to like 80 in like snap of a finger. When I first had this car, I was coming up to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and this guy had this new 500 Mercedes, like the $200,000 one with like 600 horsepower, right? And I got in, and I looked at him, and I just got on. I went from like we were in traffic, and then it opened up. I got on, and it went from about 40 to about 80, literally like that. And I watched the Mercedes, and he nailed it, and the whole front of it went up, and he couldn't catch this thing, and he just dropped 200K on this 500, SL, with the big motor.
So what is?
And he couldn't catch this thing. We got up in the traffic, and he just stood there and looked at it like he couldn't believe that he had like this, like he had the thing at the time, in like 1991 or so. And
Well, I think also people don't realize that 0-60 is fun, but 30 to 80 is a lot more fun and a lot more practical too.
yeah, it is.
What is something like this worth today?
I don't know.
About?
People pay all this particular one, just for this condition, probably about 40,000 or so.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I mean, some of them I've seen go for 50 Series 2s.
You want to
And-
start it up for us? Love to hear how it sounds. Everybody's saying it looks a lot like a Miata, which I would agree with 100%.
No doubt about it. I want you to look at the interior here because, like I said, it's a backbone frame. So the frame holds the engine in the front and then narrows down the middle and then expands outward to accommodate the rear suspension. That's what that...
Right here, Chapman struts, they come like this.
Yeah.
Two rubber donuts on the inside on each side.
Uh-huh.
And wishbones will go like that to give it the handle.
Right.
Here we go. Very nice.
That's an amazing exhaust.
Thank you.
It's got a muffler and a little tiny pipe about it.
He's
Wow.
saying it's got a tight. It's a very small muffler hole. Little tiny muffler.
That looks like a
That's very
Volkswagen exhaust.
It comes a straight pipe to about right here, and it makes a total U and back. The muffler is sideways in the car, and then it comes straight out that little pipe.
Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Really appreciate it.
We were talking with some of the Porsche people about what the Porsche engineers called bite, throttle response. And when Porsche went to fuel injection, they said that they kind of lost a little bit of that.
All that. It's a totally different thing. When you got Webers on there, you're like, it's a totally different gig. This is more like a normal car. You know, this is how it would be stock when you bought it. This is how they would sell it to you. You know, at the time, they wouldn't sell it to you making all that noise because people wouldn't. There's Emma Peel. This was Emma Peel's car from the Adventures, the Series 2. You remember this, the Adventures on TV?
Yes, Diana Rigg, yes.
Yeah. Emma Peel. Yes. This was the car she drove, the Series 2.
Absolutely. Colin Chapman was the brainchild of Lotus, and the philosophy, his design philosophy is this car.
His philosophy was if you want more, get less. That's what he told the world in the 50s when he won the Formula. He was up. You see here, he's a little Lotus guy. He's going up against Jaguar, Mercedes, the big boys, and they said that, they asked him, "What do you got to see?" He said, "You're like nothing. You don't even 2 nickels to rub together hardly." And he said, "If you want more, take less," meaning the weight. These guys were putting horsepower and horsepower and horsepower, and at the same time raising the weight. He did the opposite. He got rid of the weight and kept the horsepower low, and beat them.
He also did some crazy things people thought were nuts at the time.
Yeah.
He took the rear end, you're talking about the rear engine Formula One cars, he made the engine a stressed part of the chassis.
Yeah.
But one of the knocks on him, one of the complaints about him, is they took a little bit too much out of the cars, and that made them a little dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about that, a little bit, but you're right. Because of the whole, it being dangerous because of the handling was a little bit off, but it's, again, lightness. He was all about the lightness.
Absolutely. But this is Colin Chapman's design philosophy in a nutshell, and this car was a giant killer in its day.
This car saved Lotus because he had no money left. After the Elite, he lost money. The Elite was a total fiberglass body shell, no chassis. And to make that body shell was very expensive. And the reason why he built these Elans was to make money to fund his racing team. And this Elan, basically, he sold them, so actually he made money so he can keep the racing team up.
Same as Ferrari.
He had no money. This was what he was doing, is selling these things to fund the racing team.
So there you go. A little bit of automotive history, and Colin Chapman was a big part of it because years later, with Mario Andretti at the wheel, in 1978,
Yeah.
He was one of the first to develop ground effects, which basically where the air underneath the car formed a vacuum and sucked it down to the road, and the technology is still used to varying extents today. And the innovation that went into these cars, as we said, sometimes at the expense of strength and weight and maybe even safety, Chapman was one of the great pioneers of the automotive industry.
Without a doubt.
But there you are, Lotus Elan. Looks like a Miata, right? Well,
I'll tell you, I pull up next to a Miata. Miata looks like a Mack truck to me.
yes, it does. I mean,
Smaller, actually.
yeah.
It's a lot smaller.